For a show called Friendship is Magic, they're certainly using family as a theme a lot lately.
Perhaps the well is running a bit dry. They'll be discussing trade negotiations next.
My Little Pony, The Parent Map, is a mostly successful episode with an interesting pairing at its heart. The story starts with Starlight and Sunburst being summoned to their hometown by the Cutie Map to resolve unfinished business with their parents. I'm actually fairly impressed with the concept, and I don't think it would have worked with any of the main six, who are clearly successful and don't need any help from mommy and daddy. Whereas Starlight and Sunburst
ain't exactly winning at life.
As interesting as the debate on how old the main characters of MLP actually are, at bottom, this is a story about adults who have essentially grown children who need to step back and let them run their own lives. The fact that neither Sunburst or Starlight have shown themselves to be particularly competent at this, what with being a shut-in and joining a cult, it really makes the parents more sympathetic. I'm actually fairly impressed with the amount of development that went into both Firelight and Stellar Flare. I'm going to categorize both of them as quirky characters. They each have a very specific personality trait. Firelight is a historian. He's passionately interested in the minutiae of everything about Sire's Hollow. This comes up in a lot of ways, the best of which is keeping Starlight's room just the way she left it. By contrast, Stellar Flare is a hard-driving futurist who has a plan for everything.
Especially her underperforming offspring.
Now, as good as this development is, it can't succeed as a red herring because the family problems are just so obvious. And that can actually make Parent Map a little bit hard to watch. You're going to want to jump through the screen and point out the glaringly obvious.
I feel that way watching the news.
What makes the episode worth watching are all of the events happening around the main story. First, let's look at the humor. So far this season, the comic writing has been the most on point of any element of the show, in both variety and quality. One of the most consistently funny comic motifs in Parent Map is the ongoing parental humiliation of Starlight and Sunburst. I'm not usually one for cringe comedy, but this stuff is charming and good-natured enough that it's hard not to laugh. It also helps that Stellar and Fire are both quite funny on their own, mostly because of the humorous extremes of their quirky personalities. Like how Sunburst's mom is literally creating friendship problems for him to solve. Or the way Starlight's dad obsesses over obscure town bylaws. But the comic MVP has to be Breadhorse. He has the single funniest moment and several really funny sight gags. And he does it all with nothing more than coarse grains and a love of historic bread-making techniques. Finally, this episode has a weird thing going on with hipsters. I can't tell if it's a parody or not. I mean, there's the half-gentrified town, the look of a lot of the background ponies, but they never do anything with it. It's just kind of there. Okay, now it's time to break down the good and the bad in My Little Pony, Parent Map. On the good side, the annoying parent tag team of Stellar Flare and Firelight. They are great characters. The dynamic of Starlight and Sunburst really works, and there's a lot of solid comedy, especially from Breadhorse. On the downside, the predictable plot is pretty darn predictable, and the fun things about the episode aren't enough to distract from it. So I give My Little Pony, Parent Map, a 3.5 out of 5. Now, if you're interested in more reviews of anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, or video games, check out my channel right here on YouTube. And find my Facebook and Deviantart pages for video updates and more. Thank you for watching.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.